podcast show for business owners and managers who are passionate about developing people and growing a successful business. And now here's your host, Alistair Booth from the HR Booth.
Welcome to our latest Lightning podcast. So the topic today is very hot off the press. So it's on the back of the King's speech yesterday. So that follows the recent Labour government, being elected, and they had kind of promised a number of changes, which they are going to follow through on. And on the back of that, there was a King's speech yesterday, which highlighted the employment law changes that are coming. So this Lightning podcast today is going to focus on some of those changes and what that means for employers. And it's certainly going to be a busy time at the HR booth over the kind of coming weeks and months as we help our existing clients navigate their way through these changes. These changes are coming. It's also on the back of quite a number of changes that have already taken place this year with the outgoing Tory government. So there was a lot of changes that have taken place in April this year, which we've already helped a number of clients with. So more change is coming, which is going to be a big challenge for employers. So purpose today is just to kind of share very kind of high level around what some of these changes mean and what impact that is going to have for employers. So what was kind of announced yesterday, there was a number of things that were discussed, but what I'm going to focus on is the employment side of things. So yesterday's King's speech focused on the Employment Rights Bill, and it is going to be introduced in inverted commas by the 12th of October this year. So that what I kind of want to make clear is that these changes that are being proposed are not going to be implemented by the 12th of October, and I think that's quite important to kind of get that message out there, because I think there's a lot of kind of scaremongering going on at the moment that all these changes are going to happen kind of in the next 100 days. They certainly are going to happen, but not probably all of them as quickly as what is perhaps been anticipated. So key things to kind of be aware of and things that are coming. The kind of biggest change, I guess, from an employment perspective is the fact that employees will have what's known as day one employment rights, and that's going to include the right not to be unfairly dismissed. So at the moment, unless it's a protected characteristic, which is essentially anything related to kind of disability, discrimination, or philosophical belief, employers have, at the moment can essentially dismiss someone with less than 2 years service without giving a specific reason. And providing there's no discrimination at play, as I've mentioned, then the employee cannot then raise an employment tribunal claim against that. So in the HR world, what tends to happen is, if a HR, professional is given advice to a line manager or a business owner or whoever that may be, one of the first questions they might ask is what's the length of service that the employee has, and that essentially helps them kind of navigate which advice to give. So what is being proposed is that is no longer going to be the case. So what's going to be proposed is that everyone with less than 2 years service, that's going to be scrapped, and it's a day one right. Now, previously, I think under the Labour government the last time, that was kind of moved to qualifying rights of 1 year. And then when the Conservatives got back in the last time, what they then did is they abolished that and moved it back to a kind of 2 year qualifying period. So that's always given employers a bit of flexibility in terms of when they're exiting employees from the business. Quite often as well, it can happen as well if there is a bit of a downturn in work. Employers can potentially not go through a formal redundancy consultation, again, providing there's no risk around any protected characteristics. And what that means is that quite often what you might see in some businesses is employers making a decision on a downturn in work to exit people that have got short service, where they don't necessarily have to consult with them around redundancy, and they know there's little risk of an employment tribunal claim coming. So what is being proposed is that's going to stop, and it's a day one right. So that's a big thing for employers. What that essentially means is that it's hugely important that employers get recruitment and selection correct, because any kind of bad hiring decision, whilst it's been proposed that there's still a probation period there, and you can obviously still exit people during a probation period, what you need to make sure is that you've got really a robust recruitment process, so that you don't necessarily have to exit people from a probation period. You want to make sure you've got the right hire and the right person at the right time. And obviously, if that's not the case, then what you need to do then is make sure that your managers are well trained on having proper discussions with employees during probation period, and making sure all of that is kind of documented. So it's not going to be acceptable, if someone's on a 3 or a 6 month probation period, at the end of that probation period, just to let them go. If you've not given regular ongoing feedback and cannot demonstrate that, then the chances are you're going to be at risk of an employment tribunal claim coming your way. So that is certainly something that's going to be a massive change for employers, and it's really, really important that managers are trained on recruitment and selection, and also trained on actually giving proper feedback and making sure that there's a kind of paper trail around that as well. So that's the big change. Another thing that's coming is a ban on what's classed as exploitive 0-hour contracts, and that's essentially kind of making sure that employers do not do that, but it gives employees or the workers that right to average hours and more security. So if someone, for example, is working regular hours and that can be demonstrated, then what they should have is a contract of employment that reflects that. So that is something that's on the horizon as well. Another thing they're kind of looking at is to kind of change the current laws on fire and rehire, and that's something that's going to be covered in this new bill as well. And there's various other things around, kind of rights for access to trade unions, kind of friendly reforms, looking at a new fair work agency as well. So there's a lot of kind of things like that kind of coming. But as I say, the big change is around kind of day one rights, and that also is going to include the flexible working as a default as well. So lots of change on the horizon. We'll kind of know more when the bill is published in October, and we'll kind of find out from then in terms of when some of this change is going to come into effect. There will obviously have to be some kind of consultation that kind of takes place during that period as well, and obviously there's going to be kind of mass changes around that. So we don't anticipate all of this change is going to come in this year, because other things that need to kind of be factored in is obviously the ACAS code will need to be updated and changed, and that's not something that's probably going to happen that quickly. So there is a likelihood that it could happen early next year or slightly kind of longer than that, but the change is definitely coming. So it's important as an employer that you're kind of prepared for these changes. Hugely important that you get some kind of proper HR or employment law advice around this and understand what the changes kind of mean for your business. So what we're going to be doing for our existing kind of clients is obviously kind of sharing what these changes are and working very closely with our clients to help them manage through this change. We are also going to be hosting an event for our clients on the 22nd of August, just to kind of talk them through some of the changes that are coming and what that means for their business. And what we'll be looking to do is record that kind of seminar as well, which we can then share with anyone who is not a client. So hopefully that's been useful. There, as I say, there's a lot of talk on social media and in the press and in the media generally around these changes, and possibly quite a lot of scaremongering that all of this is going to happen in the next couple of months. I just want to reassure people that it's not all going to happen at that period of time, but what you cannot do is kind of rest on your laurels and think it's not coming, because it's on its way. So it's just important that you can have a look at that and start preparing properly. So if we can help you with that at all, then please feel free to reach out to us. You can find more information on the HR booth at www.theHRbooth.co.uk or via our website. You can contact us at the info@theHRbooth.co.uk. Hopefully you found that helpful, and we'll update you in due course on what this change means for you and your business.